First and foremost, you got to tip your cap to Coach Ogeron and his staff. That's a very, very good football team, ranked number 2 in the country for a reason. They're going to have an awesome chance to win the SEC, to win the SEC West, and compete for a national championship. So credit where it deserves there. All right, the biggest thing with this football team that we stressed, all right, this week, last night at the hotel, and this morning, is that we were going to freaking fight. All right, no matter what the circumstance was, all right, we were going to continue to punch and continue to scratch and continue to claw and get up off the mat. And no matter what the clock said, and what the score said, we were going to keep plugging away and keep fighting. Okay. And I thought our kids did that. That was a different football team than I saw on the field against Tennessee, and that was stressed. That we were going to play with emotion, we were going to play with pride, and we were going to play with intelligence. The intelligence part maybe we didn't get. All right, what games come down to, all right, particularly when the margin of error is invisible, it's going to come down to turnover margin, which we lost. You can't turn the ball over 3 times against this team and expect to win. Explosive play margin, we created a good number on offense, probably gave up a few too many on defense. All right, then it's going to come to third down conversion percentage in red zone. All right, and certainly those 13 penalties, you know, some of the pre-snap things where they're making a move call and we're jumping there, that's stuff it's not maybe at the front end of it, but it's stuff that's going to not help and get you beat against a team like this. Okay, I'm certainly not excited about the outcome. Okay, that's the number 2 team in the country. But when you look at it in spurts and see when we were playing well and we were executing and doing the things we needed to do, we stopped them, we moved the ball, and we were making plays. All right, when you're doing things you're not supposed to do, then we weren't making plays. All right, it's going to come down to how well we prepared during the week and our belief and commitment in our culture and doing the little things and building this program the way it needs to be built. I know people sometimes don't want to hear that. They want the answer now. All right, Coach O's in 4 or 5 years. I promise you this: the things that we are building with this program, true freshman quarterback, all right, true freshman running back, Nathan Pickering, all right, Mo Smitherman out, 2 true freshman corners in the game. You look at all the youth that we have and the things that we're doing, and once again, not a moral victory at all. I get that part. But the process of what we're doing and where we're taking this team, all right, is going in the right damn direction. All right, and we played our asses off today, and we fought. Was it clean? Was it precise? Was it what it needed to be against this team? Absolutely not. But I know this: when I'm in that locker room and I look at that team and I saw how we fought, we're going to build off of this one. We're going to take the good things, we're going to correct the bad things, and we're going to be a football team that continues to fight the rest of the year. All right, and we're going to get ready to roll tomorrow. We're going to make the corrections, and we're going to get rolling for Texas A&M. Any questions?
Questions? We'll get a mic to you. We'll start with Ben in the front.
Could you talk about those Spurs? Obviously had 3 goal-to-go stops with the defense. What can you say about their performance today?
Yeah, we came out today, and I think, you know, their team averaging 55 points a game, and I think well over 500 yards. And you know, I don't say held them to 3-14, but made some critical stops early in the game and gave ourselves a chance. And you know, once again, you know, at the end of the game, I think we were forming. There were some spurts in the middle, but once again, I thought we competed. And you look at the things going back offensively, you know, we run that trick play and we have the ball first and goal at the 15-yard line, and it's a race by penalty. And then there's other things that go along the line. You can't make those kind of execution errors. I thought the defense fought. I thought they played good. I didn't necessarily think it was particularly clean, but the effort was there, and the spark was there, and the juice and the enthusiasm across the board on the sideline and with the coaches and with the players. Needs to be better.
Steve?
Coach Garrett, obviously a bit of a warrior out there for you today. How would you kind of assess his play today against a pretty talented defense?
I don't want to say indicative of a freshman, because that's not necessarily the case. I mean, the guy ran 19 times for 66 yards and a touchdown, and he was 17 of 28 for 230 and a touchdown, and he had the 2 picks. But I think when you look short term, we're going to look at it, and there's going to be some things where we got on the phone and we asked him what he saw. You know, those are some of the things that a freshman sees, and you got to get him corrected. But on top of that, you talk about making plays with your arm in the pass game and with your feet by design or improvisation. That's the reason he was recruited. That's the reason he's doing a good job and giving this offense an opportunity to be successful and score points. And that's the reason he's going to be the quarterback to do the things we need to do moving forward. So not happy with some of the things, but pleased with what he can do and what he can bring to the table.
Paul?
Coach, back to your thoughts on the freshmen and some of the guys on the defense. You had J-Dub and Martin out there for a lot of corner. Pickering made some plays. What are you seeing from those younger guys with the more reps they're getting?
Number one, when those guys are recruited, there's a certain, those are guys who we recruited for 2 years. All right, and we got to know them, we got to know their families, we got to know what made them tick, got to know that they were guys that believe in the process, that not only want to do the right things on game day on Saturdays, but they're going to believe in the process of doing all the little things right off the field. But they're competitors, and they want more. They don't just come in and check in, and they're going to come in and watch film on their own. They're going to do all the little things. And then there's a reason why they were recruited, and they're going to continue to have a great year this year, and they're going to do a great job in the future. And those aren't the only ones. And then you know, those guys playing exacerbated by the fact of what we had to deal with at the beginning of the season, and then on top of that, all these injuries. And listen, there's reasons and excuses. I'm not into the excuse making thing. I get that part. All right, but we are fighting our tails off under some unique set of circumstances, and we're going to continue to get better and better, and we'll be a better football team next week, and so on down the line into the last game of the year.
Robbie?
Coach, Kylan had over 100 yards. He had over 100 yards in the first 4 games.
Yes.
He doesn't have over 100 combined in the last 3.
Yeah.
What's been the difference, you think? Is it this defense game planning, or is there an underlying issue that you're seeing there?
Not with Colin. I mean, we're doing the best we can. I mean, that team stops the run very well. They were giving up 91 yards a game rushing, and we have 102. You know what I mean? And part of that is, and we dealt with this issue at Penn State a little bit with Saquon, that there were games, I think I go back to the Michigan State game in 2017, I think he was held to 14 yards rushing, but we threw the ball over their head and scored 48 points. So, you know, we want to get Colin going. The offense kind of centers around him because he's our most talented player on offense. But at a certain point when they're trying to stop him, or we're not getting a push, or there's some numbers or angles that don't work in the run game, then you got to do the things that you saw a little bit today in the pass game, and that's get open, protect, and throw the ball down the field. So the thing I liked about Calvin today, that he kept his attitude positive the entire game. All right, it didn't necessarily go his way. It wasn't a 100-yard game. He fought for the tough yards, and we're going to continue to work and get him going. So I'm not digressing, but to get back, part of it is schematic, and part of it is what the defenses are doing. Part of it is us being able to get a push, and part of it is if that's going to happen, the other part of the offense has got to pick up the slack. So I'd say it's a combination of those things.
Logan and Steve.
Joe, do you have an update on Smitherman?
Mo is out for the season with a lower body injury, unfortunately. Sustained in practice, non-contact injury. That's why Martin and those guys had to roll.
Coach, on the first drive, you like to go for it on 4th down. How important was it to kind of send a message, I guess, to the team and to the crowd that you guys were here to fight?
Well, it was the message that we talked about at the hotel before we left, that we were going to stand toe-to-toe with the number 2 team in the country. We were going to look them eye to eye, and we were not going to back down. We were not going to cower. We were going to blow our backs, and we were going to play it to win. Reverses, flea flickers, trick passes, throwing the ball down the field, going for it on 4th, you know, being aggressive on defense. And once again, it didn't bear out. It wasn't that way, but, you know, that's what we need to do to be successful offensively. Be aggressive offense, be aggressive defense, be aggressive special teams. And you know what? We didn't get it, and the defense didn't see it. When I went in the defensive huddle after we went for that 4th down, they weren't complaining that it was a short field. They said, good, coach, keep going for it. Let's keep going after these guys.
We'll go to Ben here in the front. We'll get a mic to you real quick, and then Tyler.
Coach, you mentioned Kylan and trying to get him going a little bit, but with him getting a little bit bottled up the last few weeks, has that maybe put more pressure on the pass game, and that you don't necessarily have as much space to go over the top or things like that? Or did you see that today at all?
I don't want to say much pressure, but it does when a team like that plays to get quarters coverage and man-free coverage, and they're bringing a lot of pressure. There's more numbers at the line of scrimmage than you have people to block. So when that's the case, then you got to go. You know, when I talk about you run the ball, and then when they're pressuring or using secondary support, you're getting one-on-one matchups on the perimeter, and you look at Guidry 6 for 98, Zuber 3 for 33, Dedrick, you know, there are guys on down the line that we were able to protect, we were able to make the read, and it was great to see a quarterback be able to stand there and throw the ball accurately. So once again, you know, the kids didn't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it, but there was a lot of positive things to build off for today.
Tyler?
That first drive of the game, you guys went for it there on 4th down and got stuff.
Yeah.
One, how big was that, especially considering it looked like you guys were moving the ball pretty well? And 2, is there a situation where Garrett could go under center and maybe do a traditional quarterback sneak, or do you guys not have that in?
I've heard a lot of announcers talking about that lately. You know, kind of going quarterback sneak, and you know, most teams who don't operate kind of doing those. It's like asking someone to write left-handed or write right-handed. It is not in our package. We don't do it. You know, going through the self-scout and our short yardage conversion rate, we just feel more comfortable getting a push and putting it in the tailback's hands. And I think we ran a quarterback power on the other 3rd and short that he ended up converting. So I think more than anything, it comes down to numbers and angles. That's just not something that we really do. And most teams that run this style of offense, you don't see them do it either. I'm not saying it's necessarily right, but it's just what they do.
Robbie?
Coach Aranda really dialed up the blitzes and pressured Garrett. How did you feel like he handled that against a defense with that kind of speed, getting his second start? How did you feel like he handled that specifically in the second half?
I think he did a good job kind of moving some of the protections around, and this tends to happen to us. And some of those pressures that they brought, we hadn't seen. I watched every game this year. The corner pressures, some of the other stuff, you hadn't seen. And I'll say, those are people understand, and obviously them running a similar offense to us, they know what they go against during the week and kind of some of the things that combat that. But I thought for the most part, the protections were sent the right way, the reads were made right, and there are just sometimes when the young guy gets his eyes down or in the wrong place at the right time where you have someone open, and you out route to Dedrick where he scrambled out on a third down, he was open and made a misread, and then the one where Gidry was coming on the crosser, we had a little rub play there, he got his eyes down, so I think he handled it well from an identification standpoint. I think from an execution standpoint, he could improve a little bit.
There at the end of the first half, toward the end of the first half, it was only a 2-point game. You guys seemed really fired up.
Yeah.
At that point, I think a lot of people in the building believing that something could happen. Then you go into halftime and you're down by 15. What was the mood in the locker room at halftime, and how do you come back out of that, considering that you guys were right there?
Yeah, the mood was dictated by me and what we were going to be. We said there were 30 minutes, and regardless of what happened, with the scoreboard or on the field, that we were going to continue to fight until that last whistle blew. And you mentioned that point, talk about this being the best environment in all college football, and the fans coming and supporting. You could feel that energy. So I really want to thank the fans who came out today. I know it didn't end the way we wanted it to end, but the dog starting with the dog walk all the way through pregame, all the way through till it got a little bit out of hand. I thought our fans did a great job. It was a tremendous home field advantage. 28 more days, we'll be back, all right, and have another chance at it. But I promise you, they stick with us. They trust the process like our kids are doing right now, and see what we're building. Days like that are going to be more frequent, and we're going to come out on the other end of it because we're building something special here. I promise you that. You can put that on me.
Anything else? We'll go to Steve. Get a mic.
A lot of emotion from you in your opening statement there. Coach, how difficult a week has it been for you with all the rumors of Rutgers and all the social media nonsense and all that?
I haven't been on social media in a while, aside from responding to DMs from recruits and some other people. So I try to block that out and ignore it as much as I can. I don't think you're naive to believe it's non-existent, and some of it was deserved for the past 2 weeks, and that's part of the job when you sign up for this, the good, the bad, and the ugly of being a head coach in this conference. And the other stuff that you mentioned about, I answered that 3 times on the show the other day and said it the same way 3 times. And I don't know any other ways. So it was not a distraction because our kids aren't focused on that stuff. So, part of what makes a great fan base, to be quite honest with you, is the passion, right? The term fan is derived from fanatic. And I want our fans to be a little bit pissed off like I am. And I get that part of it because as mad as they are, I'm twice as mad. All right, and we're going to stick with it, and I understand that there's going to be upset, there's going to be disappointment, particularly with the way it was perceived. We played last week and maybe didn't have that fire and that emotion in that drive. I get that part. When our kids come out and they play hard, and you see spurts of it, to get things you never got, you got to do things you never done. All right, and people in this program understand what we're building. The kids understand it, and I know it's time. Sometimes for perspective, it takes time and space. And sometimes you can't see the forest through the trees. But when you step back and you want to take a good, logical, or reasonable approach at it, and see that the opportunity for here is not to put Mississippi State, all right, on a path where it's up and down, where we're continuing to build and the damn thing's sustainable from a self-perpetuating standpoint. All right, and it's not Occam's. The simplest solution is not always the correct one, and we are. And once again, you put that on me. We are building something special here because you know who believes it? The damn kids in the locker room, and that's what means the most to me.
All right.
Nothing else? Brian, you good, Brian?
Short.
All right. Hail State, y'all.